Thank you all for your time today. We are excited for this session. Um, as Jen mentioned, if you haven't yet, just change the name of your Zoom to first name, last name, and organization. All right. Just a reminder here that the content that we present today is relevant for 2025, but that doesn't mean that there will be new strategy or new data in 2026 or 2027. So just keep that in mind when you're watching this recording. If you do have any questions after today around coloradogives.org, of course, you're sending those emails to support@coloradogives.org. And then any questions about the program or Canvas, the learning platform, those questions are going to Institute for Sustainable Philanthropy. Can everybody from the Institute give us a little wave? Hi, everybody. All right. So just a quick recap. So we are in August. Hi, I can't believe it, but here we are. And I'm so glad that we're doing this session early. Gives you all of August to really think through all the sessions we've been through and of course go through the homework for this month in preparation for the copywriting course, which we'll talk about a bit today. And then we head into the new year, but we can talk about that later. All right. So for today's session, we are going to first hear from Becky, and she's going to give us some updates from Canvas. And we are so excited to celebrate some of the great work that you've been doing up until now. We are going to hear from Charlie, a recap, which are so important because there's a lot of stuff that goes on in between these sessions of our July session and the conversations in Canvas. And then I'll do a quick recap of where you can find your embeddable form, just so everybody feels comfortable with that and navigating on coloradogives.org. And then we'll dive into session 3. So we'll be talking about edits and updates, optimizations that you can do to your form, as well as your homepage and your web page that the form is embedded on. And then last, we'll circle up with Jen about what we can expect in September for the certificate and fundraising copywriting course. So let's get started. All right. I always like to upfront just state what we're hoping for you guys to get out of these webinars. So we want you to understand why embedding the form matters, so why it's a part of this program. We want you to recognize how page content affects giving behavior. We want you to know how to strategically customize the form so it makes sense for your data collection and for your nonprofit. We want you to be equipped to improve your website and landing page after you leave today. And so we'll talk about some resources and action items that you can do after our webinar. And then, of course, we want you to feel good. We want you to feel confident about taking next steps. And again, we're doing this session early, so you have all month to really think through and execute on the embeddable form and your website updates, which we'll go over today. All right, and with that, I'm going to turn it over to Becky so she can give us some updates. Hi, Becky.
Good morning. I wanted to do like the whole Good Morning Vietnam thing. You know, he does that every morning on the show, but I thought I would not jar all of you. So this slide really quick is just who to contact for what, but please email me with your questions, concerns, anything going on, and I will help get you to the right member on the team. Every time I get an email from you, my heart flutters. Like I'm so excited to chit chat with you and hear what's going on and debate the greater mysteries of the philanthropic world. So you can see all the things there. You can look at this later. I'm not going to read the slide to you, but we can go to the next slide. So I want to say just a few things. I'll be really quick today. I totally promise. You know what? Thank you for supporting each other. There's nothing better than going into the forums and Jen and Charlie and Catherine, and we go in there and see you all talking with each other. And I told you at the very beginning, and I will remind you again, that's where the magic happens. I want to remind you, and I want you to say this out loud to yourself. In this course, there is no late in trying. So it's an amazing achievement for you to get your end of year calendars. I have mine right here. Like I'm working on this one, our national office one, my personal one. Now is the time to dig in. So I think it's amazing that you all did your best and put the calendars in there. And then I love the vulnerability and the honesty and your ups and your downs and your excitement. Thank you. You cheered us on. You're like, this is a great activity. We hope so. And then even your doubts and kind of what's going on in your head, like, is this too much? Is this not enough? And having that conversation with us will undoubtedly help you get ready. And you know what I love the most? And it's huge win number one, because you're going to hear more as we go along. You can see the end of year. I know it's July. I know that was the deadline and it's 6 months and you're not thinking about Santa or holidays or Hanukkah or any of that stuff. You're not thinking about it, but we have to now. And I feel like there was this undercurrent of energy that was, I can do this. If I can put the pen to paper, if I can type on my keyboard, I can do this. And again, I'm going to say it again. In this class, there is no late in trying. Please give it your best effort. Please do what you can to get in there. And then I have a couple quick shout outs. I assume I'm okay on time. I'm looking at my amazing leaders here. Okay, so you have to know I'm going to go in there and read every last little morsel of what you're writing. And I saw like everyone just supporting each other, which is amazing. Julie and Emily have this great conversation going on about deadlines. Oh, there's two Emilys, by the way. There's another Emily chatting away with everyone on the chat board. So thanks, Emily, for that. You beat me in there the one day. I'm like, she said everything I need to say. And then Lisa and Morgan, I know if you're going to have coffee, you said maybe next week or the week after. Please let me know if I can come. It's only a 30-hour drive. I know I can get there in 2 days, have coffee with you, and turn around and drive home. So, and if you're willing to put me up and pay for my mileage, I'll be there. I'm just kidding, but I wish I could go. And then Amelia's in there. She shares out loud so many of our thoughts that we think in our hearts and our heads, and some of the concerns we have, like that many emails, or I'm not sure, or whatever. So Amelia, go back in the pages. She's around page 3 in the discussion, and kind of read the conversation that Amelia and I had. And then all the way back to Sarah, our very first comment in the forum, who said, how do we do this? How do I be marketing, development, communications, event planner? I know, because we've all been in that seat at some point in our careers. So I think we should all go back and have that conversation. How do we be our most amazing selves and get everything done? So I'm cheering you all on. I want to thank you for chatting with us in the discussion, and I cannot wait for our next discussion. And if you're bored and you're lonely, you want to talk philanthropy, email me. I'm here for it all day, every day. Thanks all.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Becky. I just love hearing your recaps. They make me smile. My face is starting to hurt. Okay, so now for some more face hurting smiles, we're going to pass it over to Charlie so she can recap session 2 from July.
Great. So I think a lot of you know me by now, but yeah, I'm super excited to see all of your calendars. There's so many great ones. I haven't even been able to get through all of them because I really want to give you lots of detailed feedback, but I hope to have that done by the end of today. So if you haven't seen that, and come back if you have questions on any of my comments, I'm really happy to get through to those. So let's do a little recap. So in the session, we looked at building your email calendar, or the types of content. So those 4 A's, so it all wraps into the algorithm: ask, advocate, acknowledge. So the type of content to keep feeding that motivation to give, the cadence, and how within that calendar template I gave you, and how important it is to keep pushing out. Building your funnel is something we talked about, and there's lots of slides on that, but we'll go a little bit more into that in the social media as well, to like be specific on how, because that's where you can't obviously build your list from your email list because you already have them. How email doesn't live in isolation. Again, that goes right back to this part. Can't build that list if you don't have anyone to email. So it really lives together, and how you post together. And that's a great comment that I saw, something a lot of people were doing. Those that put in social media, they're staggering a bit, but you want to just post those on the same day. And then using that voice, which will go in up way deeper in the copywriting course, but using that voice that focuses on the donor knowing how amazing they are. So, okay, I'm obsessed with this organization. Such a cool mission. There was such amazing gems in every single one that I've seen already, like some really specifics that I was just blown away by. But as a couple highlights, because we don't have time to go through each one. So for the grain chain, I loved how thoroughly planned the content was. And sometimes it's a bit heavy on the content. You've so many great things to go through, and a lot of hard data, which is so, so great for advocacy. I think in the copywriting, you'll learn a little bit more about how those real personal stories kind of motivate people because they feel them in their heart. But I think you're going to learn so much, but you have so much great content. You're thinking about end of year starting in September. You dated back and you know right now that building that excitement towards that is really, really great. Excellent grasp on how to acknowledge the community and build the community. I think it's pretty a tight-knit community, kind of niche for you. So you have such a great grasp on that. But I think in building that, you're going to be able to build out. Um, and then increasing in cadence to find that comfort zone. Obviously, everyone's a little nervous about that, but it's great that you put it out there, and then you'll find that sweet spot that keeps your people engaged. And it's really about that, content testing and just seeing what people are responding to. Because once you know what they're responding to, you can send out even more about what they like. So really, really great job. RMCW also did a really, really like this. If anyone wants to go back, and all the links are shareable within there, thank you so much for doing that. A couple people haven't said it, so I can make comments, and I've replied to that. So if you did make it available, please just comment again, and so I can go back. Optimal cadence. If anyone wants to look at what they've done, this is so, so well done. I absolutely loved it. You put in additional stuff about multi-channel plan, how you're going to put this in social media and you're going to put that in email. And sometimes it slightly varies, but a lot of it overlaps. Varying senders and messages. So you have stuff coming from the staff, you have stuff coming from the volunteers. And that's such a great way. And you'll see how that engages. And that's just super valuable to pay attention to knowing what people are responding to. Uh, Great segmentation. You put in the most thorough segmentation and it's really achievable. Obviously, you have a grasp on the different audiences, which really helps, but it's super great that you have everything in there. And you have a special consideration for monthly donors. You put that specifically in your segment, which is so, so important. You don't want them to get as many asks as everyone else, but monthly donors do give at the end of year. Do not neglect sending them out everything on Colorado Gives Day, on Giving Tuesday, and that last chance tax receipt. If you can segment them out with just a little bit of acknowledgement, like we know you already give, but we want you to have this opportunity for a matching gift, or at the end of year, like if you want to make any additional to get that on top of your monthly giving, to get that top up for your tax receipt, now's the last chance. We know it's not why you give, but it's additional benefit for you. And lots of frontline storytelling. This was so, so good. You have a really good grasp of what people connect to, which is feeling their connection right to exactly what you're doing day to day, which is just exactly what people want to hear. And copywriting will reiterate that. SHO, amazing work, really ambitious cadence. This one has the most, but I love that. I think that it gives you the most information back on what might be too much, what people want to hear about, especially that super ambitious early on, because you can like always pull it back a little, or you can keep pushing, which is just such a great idea. Understanding that those personal stories are optimal for converting. You did an excellent job there with, assisted living, like a story right from somebody, right from a family that, that, from their perspective. Brilliant. Love that. Segmentation on lapsed donors, super smart because those people are going to be harder to convert. And grouping them together, you won't be able like, okay, am I speaking to my donors or am I speaking to those people? So being able to separate those out, you'll really get to see how well you're engaging your current donors and how you're reigniting that where they've given in the past. Great advocacy is just, I mean, I think in what you're doing right now, it's really easy to see, all of the senior stats are really out there. So that's excellent. And digging those up and staying on top of those, obviously a great, important part of your job. So great advocacy. And you integrated special days well with veteran, like example, Veterans Day. So I recommend people look at this one. It is ambitious cadence, so don't feel like you have to do that, but obviously, they have a really a good grasp on the content they need ahead of time to be able to do something like this. But yeah, getting in those special days, people love to see like, oh, celebrating veterans today. One of the messages I love for Veterans Day is veterans don't just need gratitude, they need opportunity,
Yeah.
which is a really important thing to bring around. So
Well,
love
I'll just
love
say
it.
I've been seeing like also the fun days, like celebrating, I don't know,
Yes.
National Taco Day. That's just the first one that came to mind. But in addition to the serious days, I've been seeing
Mhm.
a lot of nonprofits lean into those more lighthearted, playful days, which kind of weaves into the lightheartedness that you can bring into copyright.
Absolutely. It's really, really exciting to see. So, I think just going back into the messaging that you want to look for, and some of you have done this really well, and some of you are just on the cusp of knowing, or you just didn't put in additional detail. So maybe you're absolutely writing about that, but I just didn't get that in the detail that you're putting in. So often I know if when I write emails for organizations, I know if I cry or I'm about to cry, that I know that I've really nailed it. It's something that what resonates with you is going to resonate with the people like because you're just as passionate about what you're doing. So think about if you're writing it out and if it doesn't feel like it's hitting you in any way, it's probably not going to hit your donors. If you're like, oh, just have to get this out, then I'd rather skip that one than unless you can come up with new content, then send it out because that's just going to lead to people getting disengaged. And then looking back at the stats, what stat will you remember? What do you think your donors are going to be like? That stat's unbelievable. I'm going to tell every single one of my friends. Maybe that's better for social media where it's like, did you know? And that's a really shareable moment. But will you remember when you give the face, of that senior in that bed? Are they going to remember the face and that story of that senior? Or are they going to remember XYZ, which is great to get out in those advocacy, but really thinking about we are feeling creatures that think, not thinking creatures that feel. We have that. If people have probably heard about nudge and all those different things. People are feeling and then they think. They always go off their first emotion that something draws in. So definitely think about that. Is the donor centered as a direct connection? So a lot of people are saying, oh, give to us, give to our organization. And that separates the donor from the action. So anytime you see us, our, or we, think about if it's appropriate. You're using we as in talking about them and you, but never talking about just the org, because that is separating what the donor has an actual action on, just because it was the last one we used, but that person helped that senior. They're helping on the front line through you as a trusted partner, but you are the vessel to what they care about. So just really doing a read through that and asking yourself, does this separate the donor from the work that you're doing? Okay, and this is one that I saw pretty much across the board, not every single person, but these are kind of the main ones that I saw that could really just small tweaks that will really, really help you think about and adding to there. So send 2 targeted emails on Colorado Gives Day and Giving Tuesday. And if you can't do 2 emails, then just go into the afternoon and resend it with the ICYMI in case you missed it, add it to the subject line to non-openers. You'll be able to do that through every single one of your email providers. Just resend it in the afternoon in case you missed it, unless you can, send that second content that's a little bit different angle. So the first one you did, that senior story, the second one, you start sending those stats because you're going to hit different people in different ways. But even if you can just resend it on openers in the afternoon, will give you much bigger results. And then not everyone was really leaning into that tax receipts day. So Giving Tuesday, Colorado Gives Day, are going to be your second biggest days of the year. And the biggest day of the year across the board for every single charity is December 31st. So really leaning into that. And I said before, we know framing those tax benefits, it's not why they give. They give because they care. They don't want to see it like, oh, yes, just a transaction, but it's a benefit that you want them to have and that you care about them. And position really lean into that urgency. It's their last chance, last chance. So really looking into that. I know with that Giving Tuesday, lots of people had plans to send out on the day, but right the day before, and maybe not even on the day. Beware, that is Cyber Monday, and inboxes are flooded. Again, and then with Black Friday before, so you really got to be careful, really looking at that inbox competition. Some organizations don't do anything about Giving Tuesday until the actual day, and then they just go, go, go. And I've seen tons of really good results with just that. So, leading up to Colorado Gives Day, great to get that feeling out, but then Giving Tuesday, just go hard on that day. And then email strategy. So focused on lists, there was this worry about opt-outs. If you can go back now, you might have a bit of time. Look at those opt-outs. You can see those people, download all those people that have opted out, see if any of them were actually donors. Are those people that just got kind of interested and they're immediately like, no, I'm not. Look back and be like, are those opt-outs actually benefiting you? Because the less people that engage with your emails, the less likely you're going to get into people's inbox. So really focusing on engagement, percentage of how many people are actually opening your email, rather than how many people are opting out. Obviously, opting out is actually really, really helpful information because you know what's not resonating. And again, if you're doing unengaged people versus engaged people, seeing the different opt-out rates, because unengaged people are going to opt out more, and that's okay. You don't actually want them. Combat that content fatigue, which you're worried about, by sharing relevance and quality. Again, if you're writing an email and it's just not resonating with you and you're passionate about your cause, it's not going to sit with your donors. And if every single email, and this is something obviously you're probably all thinking about, read your email and say, does this email say, why now? Because they can give anytime, right? And they're going to put it off. Everyone's naturally a procrastinator. So go back, reread your email and say, does this say why now? Okay. And that was just kind of the general recap. Oh, and there is something in there that was about like, okay, yes, one of the first questions was, how do I even start? So just the top 4 that if you can get through these, and if you can just do, most importantly, applying Phil Psych, that wording and that copywriting, number 1, if you can do that, then you've already won. But if you can also do a content gathering plan, and we will hugely, on the next slide, I think that was like a big worry. We're going to cover that in social media. So if you want to head to the next slide. Oh,
And Charlie,
I
I
think
stuck
maybe
this in.
it got
Yeah,
mixed.
yeah.
Okay.
And it's
Mhm.
okay. I stuck this in here just as a
Mhm.
reminder because there was such great conversation about end of year and frequency of emails. Just a reminder that from year 2, so from last year's Level Up program, we do also have pre-recorded training on rallying end of year supporters and a suggested calendar for end of year and for promoting urgency. So again, if people are eager, you can always point to some of last year's learnings as well for specific topics. All right, back to you.
Right. That's okay. I'm glad. It's obviously there's so many great resources that you've provided. And then, the last one, really tons of worry about how we're going to collect that content. And we're really going to lean into that for social media, which is the content beast we all have to face. And I just really, I know you're worried, but I'm really going to lean into that and give you some very easy things to execute. I put in a resource and lots of people at the resource too, doing that survey, sending that out to staff, volunteers, and clients if possible, and donors. And it will really, really just immediately pulls in a ton of stories. People love to talk about their connection. Staff are all going to have a specific connection and story about why they're there, and you can take those. People want to know that connection and just want to hear about it, and they will love to get that. So just sending out a survey, super valuable. We'll go into that a bit more. So yeah, that is kind of the full recap, and I'm so proud of everyone. And oh, we have one more thing that I just wanted to. I think I missed that all the Colorado Gives Day super, super important pieces was, sorry, going into okay, oh yes, sorry, the personalization and segmentation. Make the December 30th email feel very personal. If you can send it as plain text from this ED or CEO, and like really authentic feel, make it look like, don't add like a signature, don't like add this, so just say from a person to a person, so it feels like friend to friend. Huge results, amazing. Obviously excluding donors that have already made their year-end gift. And Colorado Gives features that you absolutely, I know Jordan's going to go into this, and it's super, super valuable. And please, please, please do everything if you can. I know some people aren't able to embed forms, but there are different ways to entice people on that, thank you page to get them back on your website. And utilize those unlimited pages. You don't get that with a lot of providers, but because each email you can just like close down, like just summarize that content and add it. If there's consistency from that email to that landing page, better results. Use the form customization. So if you're asking, a lot of people are like asking for $25 in 2025, raise that to $26 for 2026, by the way. Yeah, and leverage that. If you're asking about 25, make sure it's on the form, and leveraging copywriting. So sorry, got a little excited to go into different things there. So yeah, I think, yeah, everyone did a great job. So I'm just really, really stoked for all of you.
Thank you so much, Charlie. That was a great recap, and I just love hearing all the progress. And so it sounds like you had shared a suggested survey in the conversation or in Canvas that people should be surveying their donors and kind of doing that content collection for social media now.
Yeah, getting that content collection. There's lots of plans already in there. Sorry, I got distracted
Great.
reading the really great
Oh, no.
questions over
Yeah.
here. Will you cover thank you notes and best practices? I was like, oh, it's such a good one, but I'm sure that the copywriting definitely goes into that. But yeah, the content collection for email, for social media is, yeah, fully, really intensely covered in there.
Awesome. Wonderful. Well, with that, let's hop in to talk a little bit about the embeddable donation form. So this should be a refresher for everyone. The form was turned on when you started this course in June, which feels like a long time ago, but also just yesterday. So we also emailed you, providing you some resources up front so that you could access, read about, and learn about your embeddable form. But that's also why we're here today, to actually guide you through leveraging it and provide some best practices. So let's get started. So this is a form that's available on coloradogives.org. It's turned on for all Level Up folks, except for a very select few that had extenuating circumstances. So you're able to access this form when you log into Colorado Gives, and we'll talk about how to do that. This is available until June of 2026. So you have this for the full year to take advantage of, to test, and use throughout Level Up. So why we're asking you to make this embeddable form upgrade now? Well, first and foremost, we want to be able as a cohort to talk about a donation form and the functionality available universally as a collective group. And so all of you embedding the same form helps us understand the implications and also the tests and outcomes that can happen by everybody using this same product. It's also free, as I mentioned, so this is available, and a lot of our Level Up content will be focused on how you can update your form. We're also incentivizing all nonprofits in this program. They will get a $1,000 match bonus for Colorado Gives Day if you're embedding your form by November 1st or before, ideally. We want you to be embedding this form because it increases website giving, and it's giving you that customizable mobile-friendly form that has been proven to work for online donations. Of course, this form gives you the ability to accept one-time and monthly gifts, and all of that under one payment with multiple payment processors, all under one form. Excuse me, that was hard to say for some reason. We want you to keep more of what you're raising. So there is no shame or anything wrong with you using different forms throughout the year, different embeddable form services. But just keep in mind that you will not get lower fees than by leveraging the embeddable forms on coloradogives.org. So your effective fee rate is probably in the 0.0%. By using coloradogives.org, meaning 100% of those donations are going back to you. No hidden fees, no subscriptions through the Level Up program. And then, of course, this is a tactic for Colorado Gives Day. And so when people think of you, they're going to immediately Google your website. So we want a form available for people to donate on your website leading up to and during Colorado Gives Day. So it counts for all of the great incentives that are available through Colorado Gives Day. And my encouragement is to start acclimating your donors now. So of course, it happens, but we don't really want you to be rushing in the last week or two to embed your form before November 1st. We want you to embed it now, get the form copy right, get the customizations right, start testing it with your audience now and sharing it so that once Colorado Gives Day comes around, they are acclimated to donating through this page and through this form. So where do I find my form? And so this may be a repeat for some of you, but it's important to go over. So of course, you're logging in at coloradogives.org. You're going to your nonprofit dashboard, so on your organization page. You're clicking fundraising tools, then embeds, and that's where you can find the full form. And so you're going to be selecting create to create a new embeddable form and customize it. You can customize the colors, the logo, the giving options, the thank you, the receipt. And so you have the ability to make this form on your website completely custom for your donors. And how do you add it to your web page? So this sometimes feels scary if it's not something that you've done before, but I'm here to reassure you that it's very easy to do. So the embed code, it's just a click for your computer to copy that embed code, and it's all in an iframe, which means you don't have to worry or no code or anything. You're literally just copy pasting it onto your site. If you need help, we do have FAQs for you to do it yourself. And then we've also set up a custom project on Catchafire. You guys remember Catchafire? I hope you all are using it. I think you are. But we have set up a custom project on Catchafire to help you embed the form. So if it's really not your wheelhouse, leverage this pre-built Catchafire project and have someone with the expertise put that embeddable form on your website page. Julie says it's really easy to embed, I promise. Yes, live feedback. Thanks, Julie. And of course, if you have any immediate questions, always email our customer support team because that's what they do all day is monitor that queue to answer your questions. And then, of course, you can always rely on myself and if you have questions, the ISP team. All right. So when we're thinking about embedding a form on a website, I saw a lot of this in our cohort in year 2. The difference between embedding the form versus linking the form to a URL on Colorado Gives. So what I noticed when going through our cohort last year, folks embedded the form and then some didn't really understand that there was an embed action. And so they took a donate button on their website, and they just linked it to their organization page on Colorado Gives. Nothing wrong with that, but that wasn't necessarily the assignment. And it is an extra click, a redirect away from your site. And so I just want to remind everybody when we're asking for you to embed the donation form, it's actually living on your website. It's not a redirect to a Colorado Gives URL or to your donation form on coloradogives.org. All right. So things to remember when you are this month going through the actions of embedding your form. So of course, we want you to customize it. That's the whole purpose of these forms. We want these to be unique, special experiences for your different donor segments. So customize the form, the thank you message, and the receipt. I want to remind everybody there's an unlimited number of forms available. So go nuts. Well, maybe not too nuts. You want to be able to track and understand where all your forms are at. But you have the ability to test and create multiple forms for different donor segments, which we'll talk about. This is going to keep donors on your domain, which we'll talk about, for the entire donation experience. So there's never a redirect, either to Colorado Gives or even some other forms redirect on a website. This is going to keep those folks on the web page for the full experience. And that's going to lead to higher conversion rates and more donations, which is one of the main reasons we're all gathering together, is to increase the amount of donations that you guys are getting online. We want this to look and feel like your site, not someone else's. And so that's why we're hoping by you guys leaning in and embedding this donation form, you learn a lot of the strategies to take away as to how to build a great feeling donation experience for a nonprofit. So just to reassure you guys, as is the whole coloradogives.org platform. The embeddable form is also mobile friendly and it's easy to use. And a reminder that it supports credit card, bank account, PayPal, Google Pay, and Apple Pay transactions. So all in that one tiny form, you get a number of different options for your donors. If the embeddable form is embedded correctly on your site, you're going to see that the web address when someone donates is still that page that you created, that the donation form is loading within the page. So again, no one's redirected and no one's leaving the site. So let's take a look, at a couple of example pages. So first we'll look at an organization that's using the Colorado Gives form, Arkansas River Watershed Collaborative. So this is their donation page, and they've done a really nice job at the top of inviting people to join them to make a difference. They have some lovely pictures of them making a difference and a call to action that together they can protect the Arkansas River. Below that, they have the form embedded. And it looks like they've kept it pretty simple. So they haven't created any suggested donation amounts, no custom questions for this one, kept it really simple. So any new donor can, with ease, donate without having to go through questions. Another one we'll take a look at, and these are all linked, of course, in your slide deck, is Westminster Public Schools. And I want to look at them because I think they did a wonderful job at the story before the donation form. So here you can see at the top, they have a call to action to donate, really prominent. Think about what that looks like on your website, and we'll talk more about that. When you scroll down, I think it's a little tiny, but maybe I'm blind. But here they're talking about the donor. So donor-focused messaging, and immediately they are empowering them. You are a catalyst for dreams. I don't even have to read anything else. Let me donate. Let me get to that donation form. So the copy beforehand is really powerful, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. For them, they have enabled a designation. So you have the ability to turn on designations in any of your forms on Colorado Gives or the Embeddable forms. This allows the donors the choice to indicate where they would like their funds to go. So that's an option. And you can see also on this form that they have a specific question that's custom and that's relevant to their donors. Are you an alum? If yes, we'd love to know what school you graduated with. So that's really specific to any of their follow-up actions. So my challenge to you is, what is a really specific question that you can ask your donors? So we'll talk a little bit about that. And they've also shared an optional phone number in here. So you have up to 10 custom questions, and we're not suggesting you add all 10, one of which can be phone number. One thing I'll point out, and we'll talk about a little bit more, is that all of these custom questions, they should be optional. You never want a donor to bulk because a question is retired and not complete the transaction. Phone number is a great example. You never want to force someone to put their phone number in, because this day and age, people might not want to. Okay, we'll look at one final example here, and then we'll move on more to some strategy. Had to do it, had to get ourselves a cat-focused organization to feature here. So let's take a look. Okay, is everybody still seeing my screen? We're on Cat Care Society. Great. So first of all, look at this cute pop-up. Get the Muse newsletter. How cute. But when you head to their actual page, one thing they did really well was that they highlighted at the top here their donate button. So on their main navigation of their website, you can clearly see from wherever you are that you can donate when you're inspired. And they just have a very little amount of text. They do a great job here at providing a contact above the form, just in case someone, especially major donors, needs some hand holding or just want to talk about their gift before they make that transaction. I wanted to show this form, of course, because of all the cute cat pictures, but also because they did a great job at providing some suggested donation amounts. So it seems pretty great. So 2 weeks of diabetic food for a cat, of course I want to do that. So putting some specificity in your donation form is really going to help connect all of that messaging together. Let's see, and they also have a custom question and a dedication. So let's click on that so you can see what the dedication looks like. So here you can turn on a question in your form for folks to actually dedicate the donation, which is so cool. So not only can they dedicate on behalf of, but they can actually send a notification to the person that they're dedicating the donation to. So that's built in, and you can turn it on or off within your donation form. Similarly, they have added a custom question as well as optional phone number. So just giving you a feel for what it might look like to customize your form. Any questions on these forms, examples before we hop into the how-tos? Anything going on here in the chat? Awesome. Okay.
Jordan, just
Yep.
to share with everyone, some people say that they can't quite keep up with the chat. So what we will do is like what we did last time, which is we will copy all the chats over, and then Jordan will have a chance to respond to all the questions, and we will post them into Canvas platform. So you will have it later.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Last one here to take a peek at, Archway Communities. Again, they make their value proposition at the top very clear. Why, how, in clear bullet points. They talk about their circle of benefits, so the value that they get by becoming a member, and then they actually have their form defaulted. So this is what a defaulted monthly form looks like. Really simple, where it's just toggled back to monthly, and it's an easy setting to access in your form. As we head down the form, similar setup here, and just a reminder that donors are opted in by default to cover the fees on all of the forms, and we see 93% of them doing it. For those that don't want to, they can always opt out before making that transaction. All right, so that was a quick tour of a couple that are already using the form. Let's hop back to the slide deck. A reminder here, and I know we talk about this a lot, but we want you to feel supported. So again, emailing Colorado Gives support, accessing that how-to guide for embedding your form, and or posting the project on Catchafire to get someone else to do it for you. Maybe you have a vacation and you just don't want to do it. You'd rather sip, a drink on a beach, and that is great. And that's why we have Catchafire for you. I hope everybody's going to sip a drink on a beach at some point before giving season begins. All right. And so today, as we talk about these different tactics for optimizing your form as well as the web page, I want you guys to consider, and this will be available in Canvas to you, to rewatch, because Nathan did such a great job last year, our full in-depth webinar on optimizing your nonprofit's donation form. So what I've done today is pulled out the highlights, so the top level suggestions. But if you watch this webinar, you're going to see some incredible case studies, examples, tests that have been done really to prove the points of the tactics to optimize your embeddable form and page. So again, can't tell you enough how much we want you, of course, to take what you learned today, but also take a little time to watch last year's webinar because we can't top it. It was a great webinar, and it really went into detail about the embeddable form, but also other tactics outside of the embeddable form if you're using something else year-round or outside of the Level Up program. All right. So let's take a quick look here at how you're getting to your form. Sometimes I forget to take a moment and to actually show you how to get to your form. So we should be seeing WeCycle's page right now. Is everybody seeing that? Great. Good. So on an organization page, of course, on your left-hand side, you're navigating. Your form is already turned on, so you don't need to do any fancy footwork. You're going right to fundraising tools, embeds. You do have to expand the embed creator, and you're going to create your form. You can then see all of the different instances on your form. So maybe you want to test a couple different forms and customizations. You can create multiple, and you can see them all from the bottom of this page and embed area. Also, all of the donations, of course, going through your form also show up as such in your all donations report, which you can download. All right, so that's how you get to your form. When you're hitting create, it's going to ask you to provide an example name. It's going to ask you to provide an example URL. And when you hit continue, it's going to start asking you to create your form. You can update the form, the thank you message, and the donation receipt. And then once you're happy with it, you can copy the code. The other thing I get asked a lot about copying the code is, do we have to re-embed it if I want to change it? And the answer is no. So if you make any adjustments to the customization of any of these forms after you embed it, you don't have to go through the process of re-embedding. It is automatically updated as you make updates on Colorado Gives, which is great. Oh, Audrey says, what exactly is the example URL? Good question. So that's just really for your benefit. If we were to head back here, we can see now, okay, so we know where example URL is embedded. We know it's on the home page, or we know it's on our corporate partners page, or we know it's on our monthly recurring gift page. And so that embed location is really just a tracker for you to know where your forms are being embedded. Good question.
And there's another question, say, should we use the button?
No, good question. Yep, so again, the button and the mini form, those are free to all, and you will not qualify as embedding and get the $1,000 if you use a button or a mini form. We are asking you to use the full embeddable donation form because it has the most customization. It has all the built-in payment options, and it's going to give your donors the best experience and keep folks on your website for higher conversion. So good question. The button and the mini form are accessible to everybody. The full form is something that you subscribe to and you guys have access to. And so that's what we want you to be using. Ooh, let me head back here quick. Just to make sure to point out that once you're done embedding, you're copying the code and it's copied. And so you're then jumping, or you're having your HubSpot person jump to your web page and plopping it on your web page. And so really the copy paste aspect is very simple once you get started. Okay. So that was just a quick demo. And some a note about both the webinar that we're asking you to watch after this, so the year 2 webinar, as well as some of the examples that I'll go through here today. We know that some of them are going to be examples that don't use the coloradogives.org donation form, and that's okay. We are trying to give you the largest scope of examples to provide backup to the tactics that we're asking you to deploy. So it's just an important reminder that all the screenshots aren't from Colorado Gives forms potentially, but they are examples that allow you to use the strategies on the form. So we're not including anything in today's webinar that you can't do on the embeddable form. With that, let's get started. So as an exercise for today, I thought we'd start without any judgment. I'd love for everybody to just post, if you feel comfortable, your donate URL. What's your current donate URL for your nonprofit's website? And this is just for everybody to click, to explore, for us to take a look at after the webinar. So we would love for you guys to just add your URL to the Zoom chat. And if you can, tell us one thing you want to improve. We'd just love to know what everybody's thinking about or focusing on for their current donation process on their web form. Thanks, guys. Awesome. And this is your external website URL, not your Colorado Gives. Great. Awesome. And we'll take a look at those, and you guys feel free to take a look at those. We just really want to see the scope of what everybody's presenting now. And then the exciting part is we get to look at all of the end results, all of the makeovers of your pages. Thanks, guys. So when we're considering updates to your website for your donation flow and for your donation form, it's always good to benchmark. So nationally, the average nonprofit donation page conversion rate is only somewhere from 11 to 19%, which is low. And so a big focus for all nonprofits should be that donation experience to the end result, to that donation page. And also, we know that redirecting donors away from a nonprofit's main website negatively impacts conversion. So research suggests that conversion rates drop by 8%, which they're already low, when someone is redirected away from the website that they're on in order to make that donation. And again, we don't want to see any offsite redirects because they interrupt the donor experience. It's going to lower your donor conversion rate, as we've stated. And it also causes a lapse in your nonprofit's branding, that holistic experience that folks are getting on your website. When you redirect folks, it disrupts any of your analytics and tracking that you may be deploying on your website. And then, of course, offsite redirects lower donor trust. I know I always get a little bit of whiplash when I'm on a nonprofit page and I click donate and I'm all of a sudden somewhere else. That doesn't seem familiar. Here's a case study from someone who might be familiar to you all. So Catholic Charities of Central Colorado, within the past 3 years, has transitioned to really focusing on the online donation experience for their organization, for their church. So they switched to an embeddable form, and it had a recurring option. So that monthly recurring option to promote more folks giving in that way. And over the course of 3 years, they achieved a 170% increase in online giving just from putting energy and focus into the experience of that for their users and supporters, and 116% increase from informed transactions. So it's demonstrating how powerful embedding these forms can be. All right, so let's hit up and start thinking about who is actually visiting your website. Who's there? What are their personas? What are they looking for? What are they feeling? So we don't have to go through all of this, but consider all of the different types of people that are hitting your website or hitting your donation page. New and first-time donors, one-time returning donors, monthly, major donors, or maybe someone had a referral, so peer givers, someone sent them the website. These folks all have different motivations, all have different behaviors on websites, and of course, all have different goals and ways that they're supporting charities. So think about that as you're starting to build out your different donation pages. And you can create multiple web pages. Maybe you're creating one for new donors and monthly donors and major donors. There can be an embeddable form for each. And that allows you to not only on your website speak specifically to those folks that are visiting, but in your marketing emails as well. So with that, let's talk about some of the donation form customizations that are at the top of the list for you to think about. So when we're thinking about new donors coming to your site, we can think about their psychology. So a new donor might be testing the trust of this nonprofit. Is this nonprofit legit? Will my gift matter? Maybe they're just looking for ease. Okay, I want to support these folks, but it's my first one and I'm not really sure and I just want to give a low gift and I want it to be easy. Or maybe they've been moved. They're emotionally inspired and they want to give and they want to give with ease in a moment. So these things can help you to create a form that best fits the persona that's using it. So keeping the form simple, of course, providing inspiring suggested donation amounts, maybe that educate. So more general suggested donation amounts that educate about the mission and the actions your organization is taking. Of course, as you're setting suggested donation amounts, take a look at what folks have done in the past. That's a good way to measure what you should set them at or how you can set them $5 or $10 higher than what you've seen in the past. And then asking a donor in the form, specifically for new donors or first-time donors, asking them, how did you hear about us? That can really, as an optional question, give you a lot of information about how you might follow up, what's important to donors, where they're coming from, and where you can invest more time in the future. So those might be some ideas for creating a form for first-time donors. First-time donors and all donors, let's be honest, but specifically first-time donors really appreciate social proof. So when you're thinking about how you're talking to them on the website, in emails, on social, remember that they need a little bit extra oomph to take that action to donate. Maybe a little bit of peer pressure, a little FOMO, a little fear of missing out. So using phrases like join over 1,200 people who already gave to this campaign, or 100 plus new donors have joined in August. Will you be next? Using specific social proof that others have taken the same action really strengthens your messaging with first-time donors. And we'll look at one more example because I couldn't pass it up. But let's take a look at Toilet Equity. Hi, Caitlin, I think you're on today. They did a great job with their embeddable form, and they provided not only the value proposition, but at the top of the page, they also provided a counting clock that allowed them to show the impact of their donation. So I'll stop talking and we'll start getting to the page. All right. So for Toilet Equity, for their donation page on their external website, they have a fun way to communicate visually at the top. Poops collected, gallons of pee, toilets used. If you aren't familiar with toilet equity and you're catching the drift, they are protecting safe toilet experiences for Coloradans. They've also empowered folks with a proposition. You are the throne champion. They've also done another thing that we'll talk about. They've used an image that backs up what they're saying in their copy. And then as we head down the page, we see their donation form. We see some great suggested donation amounts. They have a how did you hear about us? I didn't even plan that. Where a donor can select one or multiple ways that they've heard of the nonprofit. And they've also have a question here related to their enterprise zone, childcare, and homeless tax credits. So if you qualify for any of those, you can set that up in your donation experience on Colorado Gives. Okay. Thanks, Caitlin and Toilet Equity for being such great partners. Okay, so we talked about first timers. Now we're talking about recurring monthly givers. So recurring donors are people who might be good recurring donors. They want to see ongoing impact. They want to be able to manage their monthly gift amounts, which you can do directly through Colorado Gives. And they want to feel more connected and invested to you over time. So continuing to build that relationship. And so maybe some form customization ideas would be, of course, defaulting to monthly for recurring gifts, but also adding a badge or icon to the page to communicate that recurring gifts are the most impactful gifts, or that your organization is trusted by over 400 monthly givers. So there is some ways to establish trust, even in the copy or visually on your monthly recurring page. And of course, in your suggested donation amounts, you can do things like emphasizing long-term impact. 25 bucks a month is 1 year of transportation for this mother, this family, this individual. And then last, as far as ideas for customizations, if you're building a form for major donors, just as you might expect, they want to feel trusted, valued, and known. They care about the long-term impact and their own strategic investments. So the money that they've invested and how it's making an impact. They want efficiency and professionalism, and they expect personal follow-up. So that's something to put on your list and your calendar. For major givers, how are you dedicating time to them up front, when they give the gift, and after they give the gift? So that might be a branded page that talks a little bit more prominently about the different leadership levels, $1,000, $2,000, $5,000, and what that means. Including staff, like I mentioned, at the top of the donation page. Major givers oftentimes want to talk to someone before the gift is made, even if they do make it on that donation form. And build trust, again, by providing context such as supported by community leaders such as, or our major donors include parents, alumni, local business leaders, so that major donors can see themselves in the donation before they give it, in the nonprofit before they give it. Whew, how's everybody doing out there? We're covering a lot, but I want to make sure you have a little bit of everything to feel confident after today. So let's keep going. And like Jen said, if there's questions unanswered in the chat, we'll make sure that they're answered post-webinar. So optimizing your nonprofit's website donation page. And again, we go into great detail in last year's webinar with some case studies that I encourage you also to watch. So let's take a quick recap on donor psychology when you're thinking about your website. So we want, donors want cognitive ease. So we want to be able to trust and take action easily. When it's clean and professional, that is the best. So think about that for your homepage and for your other pages on your website. So using white space, simple layouts, readable fonts, less friction, more confidence. You might also think about emotion first, which we'll get a lot of in our September copywriting course. But write all of your copy with emotion on your website. I see that so often. Like maybe there's emotion on your donation page, but I want emotion right from the get-go. So the implication of that could be leading with emotion, emotional photos, one-sentence stories, and then supporting it with impact-based information or levels of giving. We're going to go through these rather quickly, but again, you have access to the slide deck to contemplate if you'd like a little bit more on these suggestions. 3 and 4, so we want you, as you're thinking about your website holistically, to think about the power of default settings. So behavioral studies show that people stick with defaults. So what's that implication? That it's important for you to set form defaults such as monthly giving. So having a dedicated monthly giving form for folks that thrive in that environment. And social proof and belonging. So again, with that social proof, we want people to know that they belong, that they see themselves in this nonprofit and these donors. Adding short testimonials, gift alerts, or a counter, like we saw in toilet equity, can be really helpful to visually encourage folks to give. We talked a little bit about scarcity and urgency, but it's that fear of missing out. So what is the limited opportunity? Is it a one-to-one match for a limited amount of time? Is it a shorter campaign? Is it an urgent story? So how are you compelling folks without being fear-based, of course, compelling folks to give and love your organization? We can also consider in your content holistically for your website loss aversion. So this one really hit me hard in some of our other trainings. How do we write appeals, emails, content on your website that implicates giving as preventing a negative outcome? So with your help, 25 students may go without your help, sorry, 25 students may go without supplies this fall. So instead of give, we need supplies, it becomes more powerful. So how do we wrap that into your homepage and your donation page content? And I have this circled because we'll talk just a little bit more about this. Last ones here, folks, just as reminders for your web page content. People want personal impact. So they want to feel like their gifts matter. Let them choose where to give. So that dedication option in the donation form. And also, of course, seeing what their gift accomplishes. And I think that means suggested donation amounts. And it also means the thank you page. It also means your follow-up. So continue to reiterate the impact of what their gift has made. And the last one I think is pretty obvious, but we still see it on websites because you want to put everything in front of folks. But choice overload kills actions. So whether it's on the form or on your homepage, just make sure that you're streamlining what you're doing. And I'm guilty of it too. I want to put everything in a webinar. I want to put everything in a booklet or in a toolkit. So it is hard to make yourself streamline, but important. I want to spend one more moment on loss aversion because I think, again, very impactful for me as far as the copywriting and changes that you can make in your appeals and on your donation page. So here are some examples of loss aversion messaging that you can apply to your own nonprofit. So for wildlife or conservation, if we don't act now, the Sumatran elephant could disappear in your lifetime. That's way better than help us protect the elephant. Child hunger, poverty. Without your support, a child in your community may go to bed hungry tonight. Instead of your gift helps feed children in need. So again, I won't go through all of these, but hopefully this is inspiring you as you think about that value proposition that's going above your donation form. All right, so when we're thinking about building your donation form page, so the page that folks are landing on with the embeddable form, we want you to organize it to reduce distractions and lead them to the call to action, which is, of course, to fill out that donation form. So at the top, you're giving your value proposition. If you can remove any other links or calls to actions, that really helps people move down the page without distraction. Also, we are using a single column form, which means that there's no additional transitions within the form. There's no pop-ups, there's no redirects, which is ultimately going to help you to create a very simple page with high conversion. Another proven tactic to consider when you're creating your donation page is focusing with a single call to action. So again, in addition to the copy and the way that you're setting up your page, remove the navigation at the top of your donation page. This is the sole action they should be taking. They should not be navigating away to your nonprofit's resource library. And again, removing images unless they are specifically tied to that call to action, and CTAs as well. All right, sorry about that, guys. So we are going to be talking about compelling copy. So making sure that you're using compelling copy above the donation form to craft your proposition. And this is an example of what it may look like. So a template that you can take back to get started as you're writing that content on top of your page. Another tactic to make sure that you are remembering is that, like we said, images, like we saw on Toilet Equity's page, can actually be a huge driver, or they can be a distraction. So choose wisely. And so here we have an example case study of a nonprofit who did an appeal without an image and with an image. There was 236% increase in donor conversion on that second option. Excuse me, guys. All right. A key principle to take away from today is that perception is reality. So no matter what you think or hope the donor is feeling, what they actually are experiencing and clicking is the reality of what's happening. And so again, making that page as streamlined as possible is going to be really important. One case study that I wanted to pull out from the larger webinar is that you are using right now a single step embeddable donation form, and that is proven to increase donation conversion. So yay, we've already checked one of these tactics off our list. You can see here in this study that there's a control, a single donation form, and then there's a multi-step donation form. And you know, guys, what I'm talking about, where they slide to the next page and step 2 and step 3, 52% less donations when they had to go through those multiple steps. Again, limiting the decision friction and only asking for what's truly necessary on any of your forms. So making that phone number optional. And do you need the phone number? Do you have someone to give them a call? You know, be realistic about the data you're capturing and if you're going to use it. Your custom questions should also be optional. And again, I just want to put out there for anybody who's new to digital fundraising, from my perspective, and ISP team, please jump in if you feel differently. But I do think one of the most powerful questions you can ask that doesn't feel threatening is, how did you hear about us? It gives you a great way to understand some context about the person and be able to follow up. You can see here in this example that there is additional clutter in that control option that is removed in the secondary option, which increased donations by 107%. So again, simplify, simplify, simplify. When you're thinking about that content at the top of your page, there's 4 key elements that you can think about to higher donor conversion. And those 4 key elements are the appeal. So is this copy emotionally compelling and meaningful? The clarity, is the message simple, specific, and easy to understand? So the idea of writing at a little bit lower reading level so that anybody on the page can quickly absorb it to give. Exclusivity. So why this organization? Why now? Why this movement? Why this campaign? So what is the justification? Why should they give to you and nobody else? What can you do that no other organization can do? And last one is credibility. So again, establishing that trust. Can we trust this org to deliver on their promise? So any proof, data, maybe an image or social proof, like that counter at the top of the page, is going to combat any of those questions that a donor might have when they're coming to your page. So consider these options when you are crafting that value proposition at the top of your donation page. And again, I'm plugging one of last year's, but it was a great one. If you are thinking, Jordan, I don't know what an appeal is, a compelling appeal, great. We have a full training that just talks about appeals. It gives you examples of what's good, what's bad, different categories of nonprofits. And so again, some additional resources to support our conversations today on copywriting. Couple more, and then we'll wrap up here. So we talked about this before, but the countdown clock can be really a big impact on these donation pages. And they can be free plugins. So there's a ton out there. Maybe Caitlin, could you tell us which plugin you're using for the top of your donation form? I'm forgetting. And then we can see what you guys are using and maybe implement it ourselves. So what we can see here is that option A, straight donation form page. Option B has that counter. And so there's a 61%, almost 62% increase in donations by just adding that sense of urgency visually. Something I want you guys to think about, and was already discussed by Charlie earlier in her recap, is when you are thinking about optimization, yes, you're thinking about your homepage. Yes, you're thinking about the donation form page, but you can also think about it holistically. What are people seeing in their inbox? What is the email that they're experiencing? How is that connecting to the copy on the page? How is that connecting to the thank you message and receipt? And so it's all tied together. So make sure you're thinking about a comprehensive campaign. And then last one here, which I've already mentioned several times, but shocked me when we see these different studies, really highlighting that donation form on your homepage navigation. So in this example, you can see the original. They have it up there. There's a lot of other stuff going on for this particular organization. So what they did is they actually removed donate and they made a little sub bar and they put only the donation, or excuse me, the call to action to make a gift. So they removed it from all their other navigation and made it more prominent. They saw a 74% increase in donations and 133% increase in average gifts. Can you believe it? Just from those subtle changes on their homepage. So that's another one I just want to drive home. Seems simple, but obviously driving increased donations and engagement. Again here, just highlighting that donate button in a different color, 190% increase in donor conversion. So there's an easy thing to take away, either to have Catchafire help you with or someone from your web team. Last one here, just more of as a reassurance. We are always talking about, is it too many emails? Is it too much this? Is it too much storytelling? And I think the answer universally is no, it's not. That's what I've learned through these courses. So what you're putting on your page is not text heavy if it's the right copy. And so we can see here in the control, they just say, hey, change a life this Christmas. But in the treatment, they are going explicitly into how they can change the life of an individual that they're picturing. And so while you may think it's overkill, it's informational as long as it's the right compelling copy. And again, just hitting up those resources. If you want to learn more or you think these case studies are really fun like me, go ahead and watch the recording for last year's Optimize Your Nonprofit's donation form. Whew. So that took me a little bit longer than I thought, but I appreciate everybody hanging in there for me. I'm going to pass it over to Jen so she can get you prepped for next month and what's happening in Canvas.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for furiously taking notes and for following along, and I'm sure you'll put everything into good practice. So like months 1 and months 2, after today's session, you will have discussion forum 3 to complete. So it is already set up for you on Canvas. And when you go to the discussion forum, if you go to month 3, you will be able to see that your discussion forum topic this month is to optimize in a new way. Where we would ask you to embed at least one Colorado Gives donation form on your external website and share 3 improvements you made based on what you learned in this session. So we ask you to share the URL of this embedded form in your comments, and we ask you to send in your submission by August 20th. So you've got a whole 14 days to embed a form, make 3 improvements, and post them on the discussion forums. And as always, Becky will be there holding your hands throughout your learning journey. And Jordan will address any specific questions you have on the Colorado Gives donation form and any technical questions that you might have. Becky will point you the way where you can get them resolved. But let's make sure you embed at least one coloradogives.org donation forms on your external website before August 20th. So I would imagine once you've gone through it once, you can just multiply the process to however many others you would like to do. So that is what you will need to do to complete the first 3 months of your Level Up program. And just as a recap, if you go back to your Canvas website, you can review all the previous learning we have from months 1, Kickstart Your Digital Fundraising Growth. Months 2, Crafting Powerful Campaigns for Colorado Gives Day emails that move, and months 3, Optimizing Websites from coloradogives.org donation form to increased gifts. So these 3 months of content you can see throughout the whole 12 months period from this June to next June. And also, you can see everybody's posting. Altogether, there are 100 nonprofits in this program, and you can see everybody's posting for all these monthly learning that you have done. Now, ding ding, I need everybody's attention because starting from the 1st of September, things will change. Everything will be different. No, I'm just kidding. So the pace and intensity will drastically increase starting from the 1st of September in Canvas. So if you're thinking you're having a heavy workload in the first 3 months, well, get yourself prepared and take some holidays between now and the 1st of September, because starting from the 1st of September, every week, not every month, every week, you have 3 discussion forums. Every week, 3 discussion forums. But these are not as extensive discussion forums as what you had from months 1, 2, and 3. For these discussion forums, usually on each forum, you're asked to change a subject line, change 1 sentence in your donation form, change the body of an email, make 1 recommendation. The most extensive homework you have is during week 2, which you'll be given a 4-pillar exercise, which is as heavy as the exercise you have had in the past. But those 4 weeks, they are the most intense period for your entire training program. And the content that you'll be getting in those 4 weeks takes concentrated time to learn. So if I were in your position, I would block out at least 2 2-hour chunks each week to get through what you need to read from the website, to comment on your own discussion forums, and to read others' posting. Because during those weeks, every student's comment will be commented on within 24 hours by one of your tutors. So you will all receive pretty much instant feedback within 24 hours of posting. So as you are reading the tutor feedback for other students every week, you'll be learning tons and tons more than what you post yourself and what the tutors are feeding back to you. So I know September 1st is Labor Day weekend. You don't have to go in on that day. There's no set times for you to be online over those 4 weeks, but you just need to block some time, ideally at least two-hour chunks every week to go through the content. They are extremely dedicated and eager students in the past who told us that they spend about 10 hours every week on the course. That is an extreme case, but such a learning experience does exist. So you're welcome to spend anywhere between 5 and 10 hours on the discussion forums. So that's starting from the 1st of September. Now, next slide, please, Jordan. Because the posting will be so intense, starting from the 1st of September, you will not be reading all 100 students' comments. That would be a bit overwhelming. So what happens from that point is you will be put into one of the 3 groups just for the duration of the copywriting course. So you will be seeing exactly the same content, but you will only be reading a third of other students' comments. So you'll be in group 1, group 2, or group 3. For those of you who have not opted out from Canvas notification, you would have received a notification today telling you that you're being put into one of those 3 groups. So there are 33 people, and 34 people in each one of these groups. When you go to your Canvas platform, draw the next page, please. You don't have to do anything different. From your perspective, you just log into your Canvas platform as you have already done in the last 3 months. You click on your modules as indicated. After you click on the module, go to the next page. You will see down here after your month 3 optimizing website, week 1, why are we here, and welcome to your certificate in fundraising copywriting. So this section of the website will be grayed out until the 1st of September. And trust me, it is for your own protection because you do have another discussion forum to worry about before then. So in August, we encourage you to complete your month 3 discussion forum, have a read around amongst all your peers of 100, and then starting from the 1st of September, go on to the week 1 discussion content, started to read, self-paced learning. There'll be a lot of reading, a lot of videos, a lot of discussion forums right there for you. Next slide. And you will obviously continue to have your lovely Becky along your side and 4 other tutors who will be taking rotation to comment on your discussion forum discussion every day. And let me just give a shout out to Jennifer, who is one of your colleagues who participated in Year 2 copywriting certificate. And she went on to take our full certificate in philanthropic psychology for 8 weeks, shadow tutored, so she's now all ready to come back and give back to the community and become part of your tutors this year. So a lot of excitement awaits for you in September. If there's any questions about what to expect in September, please do put all your questions into the chat box. We'll address them. We'll post them back into Canvas for you. And that is all from me.
Amazing. Well, guys, we kept you just a minute or two over, probably because I'm overzealous about embeddable forms, but also because we wanted to celebrate you and tell you all the great stuff that's upcoming. Thank you so much for your time, and we will see you online.